And a good morning to you, and a happy new year. Lanny Ford along with you here on the bottom line. We do each and every Friday. We missed last Friday as celebrating Christmas and a little traveling going on my part. But we're going to head to our phones as we do each and every Friday and pick up Bill Bender from Sporting News. Bill, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. All right, so we've got a nice start. We're down to the semifinals in the college football playoffs. In your opinion, was it I want to ask if it's a success, but I want to ask that in the terms as the way it was described and the requirements made to do it. I don't think it's finished. I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's best we've had as far as college football playoffs are concerned.
It depends on who you ask. I think the process is too long. The calendar's too long.
Yes, I agree. 17 games. I want to say Notre Dame, Penn State, one of them, if they make it all the way, it'll be 17 games.
Yeah, I mean, it's 20 weeks. I mean, for me, I'm running on fumes, so I'm ready for these guys to get to a championship game. But it's not about me. I think, if you're Oregon, you're probably saying, I don't know, man. We waited from December 7th to January 1st and played a game and looked very slow doing it and played an 8 seed that we probably should have played in the semis.
Mm-hmm.
I think the seeding needs fixed. I don't know that the games have been competitive. But the excitement, the on-campus environment, the Final Four we got's really good and compelling. So, yeah, we got there, but, I mean, it definitely needs some tweaks.
I guess my other question would be, when you look at that Final Four, Texas against Ohio State, Penn State against Notre Dame, is there somebody that was left out of the 12 that you think should have been there that could have possibly gotten to this point? I argue that there's not. I mean, you heard the Alabama thing. Even Paul Feinbaum had to walk it back and say, okay, yeah, maybe I was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, no. I mean, the teams that got in. So I think we got the right 8. But this is where the tweaks need to happen, And I'm not saying we need to make it so Oregon wins, but, I mean, there's not a conference champion in the Final Four. Mm-hmm. So tell me why we're doing those conference championship games again.
Oh, I don't think that needs to be there. I'm the first one to tell you.
Right, yeah. I mean, you and I have talked about that. And Ohio State looks like the team to beat, and they lost 2 regular season games. So it's a little bit of a different world. But no, I think the Final Four will be fun. Texas will be fun. Ohio State versus Texas. And I don't think too many people are giving Texas a chance to win that game, and that's a mistake, in my opinion, because they have a lot of talent.
Do you think we need the bye week?
No.
I don't either. Because you get started so late, you've already got a couple of weeks off.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this calendar, you can't say it's for the student athletes when you do football from September through January. It's almost as long as the NFL calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say no. I think you could start the playoffs right away. That makes it a little bit easier, to me anyway. You could, that's one fix. You could eliminate the conference championship games. You could take a regular season game off the schedule. There are plenty of things you could do. And then at that point, make it 11 games, that's fine. They won't, but you could. Or make it 12, no conference championship game. Then you can expand to 14 or 16, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And we're done by January 1st.
Yes.
Why would you compete with the NFL playoffs? I mean, we're going to find out if that works, but I still think there's a risk it gets lost in the shuffle.
I agree. No, I agree. But I do like the part to where – I'm not an Ohio State fan, definitely not a Ryan Day fan, but Ohio State in the old formula would have never gotten there. And one of the things that I heard talked about is now college football with this expanded playoffs, if you have a loss or two, especially early, it doesn't kill you down the stretch as far as making it to the show.
Right, but I mean, does that kill the value of the regular season that we love?
We've already killed the value of the regular season.
Right.
You did it in basketball. We did it in basketball years ago.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, I'm saying like Ohio State, great example, 10-2, lost the 2 most important games on their schedule, and here they are, the team to beat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's for some people. That's great. A loss doesn't kill you. For others, it's okay. Does that Michigan game even matter?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the trade-off. If we're being honest about it, now they won't care because they hold up a national championship trophy. They won't care at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it does feel more like the NFL playoffs than the pure we're number one college football game. That it's not going to give a reward to the so I see both sides of it is what I'm telling you. I'm not by any means. I've enjoyed all this football. It's been great, but it's a different world, and you have to recognize that. It is.
I love the games being on campus. One of the things that I thought was kind of bad. Oregon, number one seed, they didn't get a quote unquote home game.
Right, and that's
should they redo the seeding? I mean, of course, I think we all realize that Boise State should not have gotten a bye. One of the things, Joel Klatt was the first one that said he felt like coming really, really soon is they would go 14, and the top two teams would get byes, like the NFL does. But my understanding is the push is coming. The SEC and the Big Ten's not on board unless they're the two that get the two byes regardless.
Right. Well, I mean, they probably will in most cases, but what happens that year? You have a 14-0 Florida State or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, to me, Oregon probably has the best gripe right now because you went through the regular season, you won the Big Ten championship, you went 13-0, you had to wait 3 weeks to play, and you caught the best team probably out of the first round. A team that probably should have been seeded 4 or 5, and you catch them in the semifinals instead. So, I mean, I think that's the most flagrant thing wrong with this format is Ohio State had a game. And we saw all 4 teams that had a bye lost.
That's correct. I think it's too much time off. I think you see it sometimes, especially in the NFL, with the teams that get the first round bye in the playoffs, and then they wind up, because they're so far ahead, it has no any type of effect on the playoff seeding. They'll even sit starters. Then you got guys that's been off for 2 weeks. And that's tough. Your body just doesn't come back as quickly, I don't think.
Well, I've seen that happen with Green Bay. I mean, I watched them go 15-1 one year and lose the first game out of the division in the divisional playoffs. And, yeah, I was disappointed that year. But, so I think they do need to tweak some things. But in general, the fact that we have 12 teams and we're going to do it that way, there's nothing wrong with it at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, and, I guess the biggest thing is you don't have the SEC up on top, and especially you don't have what I consider the traditional SEC, which is minus Texas up until recently. You've got Big Ten football up there and Notre Dame. So I like where it's at. I like where it's going. I didn't like some of the earlier games. I'm with you. I think there's too much time. I think the conference championship games need to go away. You get penalized. You could be penalized for playing in that game, and it shouldn't be that way. I don't know. Do you see tweaks coming soon, or is this something that's going to go down the road a little bit?
I mean, I don't think it'll happen next year because they're set in stone to do this for 2 years. So the format's probably going to stick at least through 25, 26, and then maybe we can talk about the seeding quickly. Maybe they'll talk about adding teams. Maybe they'll talk about, hey, you get in, we'll have the 5 automatic berths, but we're not going to necessarily guarantee you a first round bye. I think that needs to happen.
Do you think
things properly?
Do you think they do some tweaking based on seeding, based on some things that happened this year that shouldn't? I know they're not going to move games. I know they're not going to take away the buys and stuff. But do you think they relook at how they seeded and say, we didn't exactly get that right. We shouldn't award this and that. We should, once we get the top 12, then we should seed.
They should. I mean, that's what I would do this offseason. Ross Dellinger and others have reported they've had conversations about it.
Mm-hmm.
Conversations and action are two different things in college football and always have been. So we'll see if they actually do it this off. That would be my immediate fix, and I think it would fix quite a bit. Honestly,
yes.
I keep pushing back, Lanny, that the 8-9 game should have been Boise State versus Indiana.
Yes.
And if you seed properly, then the games will be better.
Yes.
Right? Now, nobody expected, let's be honest, nobody expected Ohio State, expected them to win. We didn't expect them to beat Oregon by 20.
Right.
So some of that is out of your, like, you can't dictate outcomes, but you can, set the playoff bracket up so that outcomes, there's a better chance for better games.
Right. And that one, if they went back and reevaluated how they seeded, it wouldn't have any effect on this product that's already locked in at 12 teams for 2 years.
Correct. So I think as we move along in the process and try to make this product better, that'll be something we look at. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's entertaining, it's new. I talked to Gary Stoken, the Peach Bowl CEO, about this. And, he said, this first year, honestly, you got to give the committee a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. It's the first time we've done it.
Yeah.
So, and I agree with that. You can't just sit here and rip them for the sake of ripping them when, it's something new. They tried it. We had the potential flaws, and they've shown, but there's also been a lot of good in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited about the semifinals.
Oh, and I am too. Like I say, it's not perfect, but I think it's so far ahead of where it used to be. And I'm still a very big proponent in I want the eyeballs to go away. I want the committee to go away. I don't want you to talk about it and think about it, because then you get these, I've got folks that think, there should be 4 SEC teams in there and 4 Big Ten teams in there, and maybe we'll let somebody else come in and play. I just don't think that's the way to do it. I thought there's been good football. There's been a couple of stinkers, but as you said, it's the first one. The other thing that bothers me about all of this is I saw a little bit of inconsistency in calls, especially the targeting call that I thought was missed in the Arizona State game. I don't like the targeting call. Should it have been a targeting call by the letter of the rule? Yes. But there again, you went in there and interpreted it and said, no, it wasn't a targeting. But when you've got a player that takes helmet contact from another helmet and he can't get off the field immediately, there's a problem.
Yeah, well, you know what? I had a feeling they weren't going to call targeting there anyway.
I know.
I always
swallow the whistle.
Yeah, that, or I just said that's like on the playground and not calling a foul on game point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what it was. And
Mm-hmm.
I've used that analogy. They just don't call the foul on game point, and you have to live with that. And I wouldn't have called it there, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm against the grain on that one. But then you say, well, they're just trying to get Texas into the. No, that's not why. I just, he made a good. I tend to side with the defensive back who, what is he supposed to do? Now, by the letter of the law, is that targeting? Sure.
And that's me.
Right.
I have no problem with the play, and the biggest reason I don't have a problem with the play is, to me, it was a textbook tackle because your head was up. It's supposed to be, that's kind of supposed to be when you're teaching as a former coach, that was one of those things you had to teach. You almost had to tape it to make sure you cleared yourself of liability. But by the letter of the rule, it was targeting. That was the part that bothered me. I thought it was a good play. I thought it was a great play, but not by what the rule says. And then I have a problem with the 2 running into the kickers yesterday. I don't know if they needed to break the punter's leg to get a roughing the kicker call. The first one was bad. And now they're saying, well, if you don't hit the plant leg, you're leaving. You talk about a defenseless player, an unprotected player. A punter is.
Yeah, they should have called roughing on the first one. There's no doubt. So, punter breaking his leg and they don't have to punter for the rest of the game. I guess that's when we'll call it. But yeah, I absolutely agree with both of those. And that we always focus on the officiating in these games. And there were some things that happened. I honestly thought the Georgia kid that touched the ref, kind of a weak call in my opinion. Like
down the sideline.
Yeah.
That was stupid. That was just. Yeah. It didn't have any effect on the play. That was an official that was pissed because he got a little banged up.
Yep, it's sideline warning.
Yeah.
There, and
he wasn't on the field.
No, and I think, that definitely had an impact on the game because Georgia had to settle for a field goal. And, I think, and that kid, I can't remember his name. It's, backup corner. He's unfortunate. He'll probably end up transferring.
Yeah. Jones. I think his last name was Jones.
Yeah, Palmer Jones or something like that. That's unfortunate because, and it could have been avoided with just give him a sideline warning.
That's correct. That
had no bearing on the play, and now we have to go through that for 2 days, and he's probably going to have a rough couple 2 days. And as a father of a son, I'm thinking, man, if that was Grant, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
So you think of it that way in some ways.
I agree 100%. So what do you like moving forward?
Well, I think Ohio State, Texas will be a classic, but it's hard not to pick the Buckeyes the way they're playing, especially if Texas can survive that first quarter, which Ohio State's knocked teams out in the first quarter, they can hang in that game. And again, I can't get I watched Texas destroy Michigan, destroy them in week 2, and that's still stuck in my brain is that they've got the talent to do it. I think Notre Dame wins the other one, but it's dicey because they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit. Penn State's pretty complete. They're playing well with that defense. We'll see if Abdul Carter plays, but I mean, if I'm picking it, I'm going to pick Ohio State and Notre Dame playing a national championship game. And what a national! As a kid that grew up in Ohio and went to a Catholic school, I mean, come on, that's perfect for me.
No, I agree. Maybe you can answer this. Is it just me, or has Texas looked a little shaky all the way through?
Well, I just think they've done enough to win. Like, I think they're being penalized for winning enough. Like, yeah, it hasn't been complete. They haven't put together complete games. They've had some injuries on the offensive line, but they still have a very good team. But
they haven't played, I guess, the quality opponents of maybe some of the others, but they got it done and they got there. The biggest thing is, what are we going to do with all the SEC fans if it's an all Big Ten national championship game?
Oh, you'll survive.
It don't bother me. I'm not an SEC fan.
Right, like, they'll survive. I had to sit through LSU, Alabama, and Alabama, Georgia, and pretend to like it. So, and all those years of SEC domination of the bowl games, it wouldn't be, it would be an interesting call to action, though. I mean, if you get Michigan won it last year, beat Alabama to do it, and then if you get Ohio State and Penn State in the national championship game, those are the 3 major programs in the Big Ten operating at a high level. I always rope Notre Dame in because they count.
That's where they need to be.
School. Right. They're not a Big Ten school, but they kind of count because they're one of us in terms of like being from the Midwest. So, yeah, I mean, it's huge. And now Ohio State's different. They're good every year. But for Penn State, Notre Dame, and Michigan to all be on the upswing. Michigan still, what a comeback for them to be 6-5 and then win their last 2 games.
Yes, I agree. One final question. How do we get control of the players, of the coaches, get the testosterone turned down? The whole Shane Beamer thing I thought was an embarrassment to college football, just the way that it was handled. And just some of the things that the kids do, that they can't just play. I hate to say it. I love the penalty where the receiver, and it was last night, he got up and went to do his first down thing, which he doesn't need to do. The officials will take care of that. He shoves the defensive player in the face and gets a penalty after a huge play. How do coaches and programs not have control? Going back to the flag in the middle of the field. How do you get these kids back under control that you're playing football?
You teach it at a younger age. You got to teach sportsmanship. I mean, I'm really big on that with my kids. It's not perfect, but you try to teach them that. Control your emotions. Don't let your emotions control you. I mean, that's the easiest thing to try to teach. But, yeah, I think we let things go, and then that's the result.
Yeah.
And so I'm not surprised that these things happen. The Beamer-Bielema thing is kind of funny to me because I'm like, yeah, I get it. But when 2 coaches go back and forth like that, I don't hate it. But, if there's a fight at the end of the game, coaches.
Well,
Definitely.
go back and look at the state in East Carolina, and everybody says, "Oh, well, that's been bad blood for years." That doesn't make it right.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to do it.
No, it doesn't
So,
make it right. I just think
Right,
I think
yeah,
it hurts the game a little bit. We're already having to adjust to college football isn't what college football used to be because you can up and leave. We pay you. All these different things have changed, but now it seems like there's more attitude and stuff going on the college level than the pro level.
Yeah. Again, sportsmanship, and teach your kids how to do that, and shake hands after the game, and play between the lines as hard as you can, and do it legally, and go from there. I think that's the easiest lesson.
I think you're right. Bill Bender, Sporting News, looking forward to what's coming up with football. Appreciate it, as always, you taking the time to join us, and I hope you have a happy new year, and talk to you next week.
Hey, no problem. Thanks, Lanny. I'll talk to you then.
Thanks, buddy. That's Bill Bender, Sporting News. He joins us every Friday and talks a little college football. Just a couple of things that I have been concerned about. I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the optics of it, I guess you'd say. I think we need to work on that and fix it. All right, hope you're having a wonderful new year. It looks like Mr. Rembert and I will be moving to Wednesday starting next week, trying to get things worked out in our schedule. Try to get on here just a little bit more when I can. Just so many things going on. Hope you're having a wonderful beginning to your 2025. And I'll see you again next week. Don't forget, the boys will be in here in the morning, 8 o'clock. They'll give their take on what's going on. Have a great day.